Early on in the awakening and healing journey, piercing the denial is about recognizing the external truth we didn't want to see. I spoke about that for many years on my YouTube channel and in my podcast. At that stage, breaking through the denial and developing discernment is mostly about identifying if something is toxic for you, such as a relationship or other situation. But that's not what this episode is for, because you already know all about that. If you're tuning into season 2 of the podcast, it's because you've outgrown that lens and you're here for something deeper. Along the journey through life, we're called to develop more finely tuned discernment. That's where it becomes more about what's aligned with our soul and what's not. It's about developing the nuance to honor greater levels of truth, especially self-honesty. It's about aligning ourselves with our essence, our soul purpose, our divine mission, and choosing what resonates with that. This is an invitation to identify what you're holding on to that's holding you back from your next level. In this episode, you'll have the opportunity to explore the edge where your comfort ends and your higher potential begins. If you're listening to this season of the podcast, it's because you've done a lot of work. You've learned the language of self-help, read the books, talked about your trauma, understood the family dynamics you grew up in and how that drives your perspectives, behaviors, and the adult relationships you chose. All of that was helpful. And yet, if you've done that for a while, you might be at the point where something isn't moving. Maybe you've been asking yourself, why do I still feel stuck? Sometimes when we think we're blocked, we're actually just hiding from a disruptive clarity because deep down, we know it will change everything. Denial at this stage of the game isn't about being blocked by something external that you're not seeing clearly. It's about shining a light on the next level of self-honesty. Breaking through the denial and bypassing at this level is about facing the truth you've been managing instead of embodying. We can usually feel it wobbling under the surface a bit before the fully conscious realization collapses the old system. So if you're feeling stuck at this point in your journey, it's because in some subtle way, you're bypassing the next level truth that will open a whole other octave for you of more aliveness, more purpose, more joy, and more fulfillment. As you tune into this message, I'm inviting you to get a little uncomfortable, because that's what happens when you discover the truth you've been avoiding. That discomfort is the doorway to your next level of growth. And this kind of awareness comes through insight, not information. So if you've been gathering tools, attending workshops, collecting knowledge, but still feeling like something deep in you isn't shifting, this transmission is for you. If you're feeling the calling to actualize your higher potential and step more courageously into your purpose in your daily life, then you're at the point where you're being asked to upgrade from trauma maintenance to purpose embodiment. And that can only happen by digging deeper. Having trauma maintenance skills is important. You learn how to self-regulate, how to shift out of the defensive states of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn so you can access higher states of consciousness and creativity. And after you do that for a while, that's exactly where you'll notice the plateau. You might be wondering, now what? At this level, it's not just about you anymore. There's only so far in the journey we can go when it's about me, my pain, my trauma, my self-care. The next level is about becoming the version of you that wants to share your gifts with others to make a positive impact on the world around you. As we begin digging deeper into the wound, we can discover the medicine that fuels our purpose embodiment and sacred offering to others. If you want more clarity on your purpose, you just need to dig deeper. Self-honesty will open that door. Denial and bypass keep you at the surface level, managing, self-regulating, but not breaking through. Where denial distorts your perception of self, authenticity reveals your alignment. Where bypassing delays your embodiment of purpose, alignment accelerates that process. Alignment is where your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions move in harmony with your soul's calling. Not what you think you want and who you think you should be. Most of that is just ego influenced by outside sources. When your inner essence is aligned with your outer life, you experience inner peace and fulfillment. The weirder our world gets, the more unreal everything feels. The less sense things are making out there, the more people are craving depth, inner peace, and fulfillment. That's the blessing in all this pressure. Many people are peeking through the personal and collective denial that everything is fine, but they don't know what to do about it. So the default mode is to just stay under the veil of denial, bypassing the full realization because breaking through would mean everything changes. This episode is the 6th portal in this 9-part mini-series on the emotional and behavioral anchors that weigh us down in life. I'll invite you to explore the edge of your self-awareness and perhaps to lean in a bit more if you want to. I'll invite you to witness where you're holding on to something that's holding you back so you can step into your soul calling and thrive during these wild times on planet Earth. Welcome to Inner Integration. I'm Meredith Miller, and this is You're Not Stuck. You're bypassing a truth that would change everything. If you're one of the people looking around and wondering why nothing has felt the same since 2020 and what you can do about it, check out my book, Becoming Whole: How to Prevent Stockholm Syndrome and Transcend Darkness in Your Life and Relationships. Becoming whole is for people who want to break free from the state of captivity and liberate their soul from the learned helplessness caused by the ongoing psychological and spiritual warfare in our world, so they can thrive during these challenging times, restore inner wholeness and freedom, and create a better future for the next generations, instead of passing this burden forward. Podcaster Doc Malik described it as the book everyone needs to stay free, a work of art and an absolute masterpiece. Check out Becoming Whole by Meredith Miller, available in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook format. Let's face it, sometimes we just don't have the energy to do the inner work, or we don't know what to do about it. That's why I want to tell you about a little device that you can use to self-regulate your nervous system with the click of a few buttons during intense moments when you just need relief so you can function or sleep. It's called the Vibe. I've been using much more complicated and costly frequency devices for almost 20 years. I was blown away when I saw how affordable this device is and how easy it is to use. It puts sovereign wellness back in the hands of the people. This little pocket device uses frequencies to relieve symptoms like anxiety, inflammation, neck pain, back pain, fibromyalgia, headaches, irritability, depression, brain fog, insomnia, heart issues, and more. You can use it on your dogs, cats, and horses too. It's based on technology with a 98% success rate in alleviating the symptoms of post-trauma. Your search for PEMF on PubMed will yield hundreds of scientific studies revealing its potential benefits. If you want to get your vibe, you'll find the link to this affordable device in the show notes. That's where you can listen to the interview I did with the rocket scientist who developed it. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Information provided is for educational purposes only and should not be interpreted as medical advice for preventing, diagnosing, curing, or treating any disease. Consult a qualified professional for any questions specific to your health and well-being. Naming the pattern. Denial isn't always loud, like being in a toxic relationship or situation. Sometimes denial is the temporary calm after self-regulation and trauma maintenance, where we tell ourselves everything is fine. And compared to the chaos and dysregulation of the earlier part of the journey, things do appear to be fine. But fine is not the same as fulfillment. When we settle for fine, we can easily rationalize staying in patterns that once made us feel safe, but now keep us small and misaligned with who we really are. Many people are living lives that are functional, but not aligned. You handle your work and life responsibilities, but deep down, something feels off, and that subtle inner dissonance builds. While being functional is much preferred to being dysfunctional, the restless boredom of the plateau will eventually grate on your soul. Eventually, it leaks into your external world through a return to old habits that once gave you a false sense of peace. The next level of purpose, inner peace, and fulfillment emerges through alignment with your soul calling. There is nothing external that will do that for you. Money, titles, fame, property, social status, and network, none of it matters if it's not aligned with your soul. Why are you here? I can't tell you that. Only you can discover that because it's your soul calling. What I can tell you is that you belong here. There's a reason your soul incarnated, and it's probably not just paying bills, consuming, and entertaining yourself until you die. What I can help you do is to clear the layers of distortion, emotional residue, and external programming that are distracting you from connecting with your essence and soul calling. But I can't guide you through that terrain if you won't be more honest with yourself. If you're really honest with yourself, what's no longer working for you, but you're still rationalizing that it's fine? What are you still defending that no longer reflects who you want to become? Sometimes we remain loyal to relationships, perspectives, habits, projects, jobs, groups, living situations, and other things that aren't aligned with our authenticity. Is there something in your life that you're loyal to, but it's actually limiting you? Maybe a role, a relationship, a job, a version of yourself that's outlived its purpose. The soul's shadow economy maintains denial and bypassing. Sometimes we make trade-offs for safety, belonging, and survival. Sometimes those trade-offs are simply to maintain the external peace. The soul's shadow economy is the unspoken trade network where we barter our essence for a false sense of security or significance. These are soul contracts and spiritual agreements that we make usually unknowingly to avoid fear, discomfort, or insecurity. It can feel like a safe bet in the short term, but it always comes with a cost in the long run. Many of these trade-offs didn't even start with us. We inherit spiritual contracts like generational curses that loop over time through our lineage until someone realizes, renounces those, and makes new agreements. We can do a more in-depth exploration of the soul's shadow economy in a future episode. Some examples of these trade-offs hidden under the denial could be trading your inner voice for belonging, your identity for acceptance, your growth for comfort, your prosperity for protection. For example, it's when you're holding on to a soul-sucking job because the money is easy, you can zone out and do your work on autopilot, then go home, eat, and tune into the TV or social media while convincing yourself that it's fine. Yet you know you're here for something more. You're trading that calling for the security blanket of the paycheck. 20 years ago, I quit working in the system for that exact reason. But then I revisited that theme at another octave some years ago when I was continuing to do content on narcissistic abuse recovery. And I knew something was missing. 10 years ago, that felt like a soul calling. I knew I was helping people, but eventually it became clear that was only the first level of contribution that I wanted to make. I knew I was here for something more, but I delayed that leap for a while, convincing myself that it was fine and holding on to that security blanket. I was trading the next level of my soul calling for the popularity of that kind of content and the income I was making from it. The thing about trade-offs is they usually either blow up on their own, creating all sorts of havoc, or we hear God nudging us to take the leap of faith into the unknown. That's when we'll be required to summon the inner courage and commitment to walk the path of greater soul alignment. There's always a trade-off with denial and bypassing. And when those unspoken trades finally become conscious, something else begins to unravel: your identity. What trade-offs have you made for something that you're now realizing isn't aligned with the next level of your soul calling? What are you getting out of the trade-off? Maybe it's a sense of safety, security, belonging. The frustrating exhaustion of the plateau. Gathering knowledge isn't the same as healing or embodiment. Many people get stuck in maintenance mode, self-regulating, doing the work, but feeling like something deeper isn't shifting. That's when healing stays at the surface level and learning becomes a substitute for deeper truth. You might feel exhausted, disconnected, or wonder if you're doing something wrong, so you seek more content, more tools, hoping the next bit of information will unlock what feels stuck. But the loop continues. No matter how much you consume, the frustration returns. Are you gathering more information or avoiding the truth that would actually move you forward? There's another common place where people can get frustrated and exhausted when they're being called to the next level, but delaying in the denial and bypassing. You might cultivate more money, more fame, more friends, and more lifestyle upgrades. But when you're in denial about seeking self-worth in external metrics instead of soul alignment, the more you have, the more you think you need in order to feel fine. And that is utterly exhausting. And it's tricky because it's easy to rationalize that you manifested it all because it's aligned with your soul. But that's not always true. We can manifest from the ego and survival self. The key is noticing the fruits of our manifestations. That's where I was 6 years ago. Once I finally broke through the denial that the life I had manifested was a surrogate for building self-worth, in order to stop bypassing, I had to humble myself, to look deeper within and completely rebuild my foundation on something solid. Soul alignment isn't based on external metrics. Sometimes we can manifest external stuff, yet be frustratingly misaligned in ways we aren't aware of. The most exhausting part is keeping up appearances that everything is fine when the pressure is building to break through the denial. When you watch most manifestation and law of attraction content, you can feel it under the surface of the curated images, behind the "look how much money I have" displays, and in the empty clickbait messaging like "watch this and get rich." Something is missing. It may not be noticeable on the surface where everything looks fine. You'll only feel it in the depths. A similar kind of exhausting frustration can happen when you're maintaining and doing fine, but not seeing the external metrics that you think you should have by now. You might feel exhausted and frustrated that you're doing the work, but not manifesting your life partner, your dream home, the kind of wealth or impact that you want, even though you're so much more functional than in the earlier stages of trauma recovery. When you're aligned with your soul, it's easier to maintain faith during your seasons of waiting and preparation. It's actually a lot easier to break through the denial in those circumstances when your pride isn't so entangled in the external stuff you already have. The fear of loss can cause us to cling to sources of external security, which only delays the next breakthrough into greater alignment. So if you're exhausted and frustrated, whether you have the external metrics and stuff or not, it's because you're bypassing the next level of alignment and you're in denial of what's holding you back. All it requires to break free from the denial is a new level of self-honesty. But that's challenging because we can rationalize almost anything. We tell ourselves stories about why it's okay to hold on to whatever is holding us back when we're afraid to let go and step into the uncertainty of change. What truth have you been managing instead of embodying? And how much energy are you spending to maintain a half life, even if it's full of external metrics? A half life can come with a lot of external metrics that appear to be fulfillment. A truth that would change everything. There's a cost of avoiding your next level. The truth you're avoiding is the frequency upgrade to your next timeline. That's why it feels disruptive. It is. That shift won't come from something outside yourself. It comes through being honest with yourself. While it may be someone else who delivers the message, it's your self-honesty that will receive it, honor it, and act on it. Bypassing the next level of truth delays our ability to live with greater purpose, aliveness, inner peace, and fulfillment. Raise your hand if you've ever hid from the next level of clarity because you know it's going to disrupt your life. We've all been there. Once you see a new truth about yourself, one of two things is going to happen. You might double down and stay where you are. It will feel increasingly more disruptive to your comfort every day because you have the awareness of what's not working anymore, but you're not taking action. Or you're going to take new action, and that will disrupt things immediately in your life. Perhaps your job, your relationship, your sense of external security, your friendships, your family dynamics, your business, your routine, your living situation, your bank account, your social life, or the amount of time that you used to spend online and watching TV. This is where we face our self-authored illusions. Each of us has truths that were exiled because they would rewrite our identity and role in reality. That's disruptive. Yet that's where the big transformations happen. Because when we dissolve denial at this level, it doesn't just change what we see out there. It changes who we're allowed to become. External denial says, that can't be true because it threatens what I believe. Internal denial says, that can't be true because it threatens who I think I am. Most bypassing of self-honesty begins here because the truth feels like a destabilizer of identity in our entire reality. It's true. Our reality will change. Our identity will change, and that will create ripple effects. While that's unsettling, it must happen to go to the next level, because the version of you who got yourself to this point is not the version of you that's going to take you to the next expansion of your soul alignment. When you let your next level of inner truth speak, the ripple effect will disrupt the status quo in many ways, including these key areas. Number 1, old service contracts collapse. These are the roles you played to be loved. If you want to serve at a higher level, you're going to need to release the old distorted service contracts that were based on a false sense of safety or survival. Your next level of self-honesty doesn't just change your internal awareness. It creates an energetic ripple effect through every relationship, role, and situation built on the scaffolding of your old self. When we release the old survival service contracts, we can free up energy to align with our divine mission so we can serve through purpose rather than trying to fix things from a place of trauma adaptation. The old roles served as a currency of survival when that was the intelligent adaptation. Each of those contracts is tethered to a truth you weren't allowed to hold before, but is now outdated for where you're going. Your old service contract dissolution might sound like, I am worthy, even if I disappoint you or disagree with you. My values are not a threat to your worthiness, even if we're not aligned. I'm not responsible for your emotional weather, even if you feel offended or triggered by something I said or did. I choose authenticity and alignment over performance and pleasing. These old service contracts don't have to collapse with confrontation, but simply no longer participating in the exchange. You don't have to explain or justify your new level of self-honesty and alignment. The antidote to denial isn't confrontation, it's self-honesty that leads to coherence. Number 2, old protection patterns dissolve. These are the masks you wore to be safe and the adaptations of identity that once served you to survive. Our old masks are forged in moments of rupture, when your realness was punished or your silence was rewarded. In order to feel like we belonged, we had to sacrifice who we are. And when the old masks dissolve, you'll unsubscribe from old adaptations that are no longer serving you. It might sound like, I no longer dim my light to make others more comfortable. I no longer prove my worth through productivity and financial success. I no longer try to earn others' approval by explaining or convincing. When you embody a new level of inner truth, the old masks become too heavy to wear because their frequency no longer resonates with who you're becoming. You don't have to feel bad about changing, even if other people don't approve. Number 3, new capacities activate. These are the gifts that can only live in honesty. When denial dissolves, energy that was trapped in performance or protection is freed for higher function and purpose. You may notice subtle intuitive gifts start awakening. You experience more synchronicities confirming the inner shifts you're making. A new level of creativity gets unleashed. You feel more passionate about developing your gifts more and using those to contribute to others in a beneficial way. Your voice deepens, literally and metaphorically. You feel more confident and bold in speaking the truth about who you are and what matters to you. Your relational field starts reorganizing around your new inner alignment. New relationships and friendships show up that are more aligned with who you're becoming, not who you were. You'll stop relating to other people and yourself through survival and trying to get your needs met. You start shining more, relating through a sovereign, sacred presence with greater trust in who you are and why you're here. What truth would unleash your next level, but threatens your current identity? If you felt the resonance and you know this message is for you, let it land. When you're ready, lean in a little more to the discomfort of the next level of your self-honesty. Let it disrupt. Let it catalyze your next level. Invite yourself to release the old agreements that you made to be accepted. Make a vow to yourself to honor truth over performance or fixing. And trust that what falls away is not aligned with the next version of you. This isn't the end of your healing, it's the beginning of your becoming. And if you're ready to live the truth you've been avoiding so you can transmute your wounds into medicine, which becomes the essence of your sacred offering to your family, community, or the world, I'm here to guide you through that journey. I have an epic 3-month transformational journey called Becoming You for those who want a guide to walk with you into your own inner alchemy of wounds into medicine, embodying your purpose and leading with light. In the next episode in this mini-series, we're continuing to explore the uncomfortable inner spaces, bringing new levels of self-honesty so we can expand into new levels of freedom, contribution, and thriving. Resentment is a heavy weight that drains our energy and hardens the heart, making it difficult to open to receive love. It's what we get tricked into carrying for those who transgressed against us, and we don't have to carry it any longer for them. In that episode, I'll invite you to summon the courage to feel where your heart might have been hardened, and to witness the rigidity that once made you feel safe, but is now a barrier between you and what you really want in your life and relationships. If this message speaks to your soul, make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Share this with someone else on the path, someone who's ready to go deeper, beyond the surface of healing and into true integration, beyond the personal and into the ancestral, collective, and planetary layers too. And if you'd like to leave a message or a note for me, something that resonated, something you want to hear more about, you can leave a comment here, or you'll find a link in the show notes where you can send me a private message. Remember, keep listening within. No more playing small. It's time to remember who you are, because the world needs your wholeness now more than ever. You are not the wound. You are the medicine. Let your trauma become your map to purpose. Thank you for joining me today for this transmission of the Inner Integration Podcast. You're not broken. You're not behind. Your trauma wasn't a detour. It was initiation, an immersion into the very wisdom that your soul came here to embody. To go deeper into this work, visit innerintegration.com. And until next time, big hug to you.